If there's drinking at your Super Bowl party and someone gets in an accident afterwards, who's responsible? I'm Consumer Bob. I'll have the answer coming up in just a few minutes.
From the popular television ads to the viewing parties, the Super Bowl is often associated with drinking. But if someone gets into an accident, this is so important after a party, who's responsible?
NBC7's Consumer Bob says when it comes to the law, it actually depends on who is serving the drinks.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I was a little confused by this. I think people ought to understand that if someone gets in a drunk driving accident, the weight of responsibility is different depending on where they were drinking. Of course, it doesn't make much difference if you're the one injured by a drunk driver, but it is interesting to read what California law says about all this, especially as we enter a major drinking weekend tied to the Super Bowl. Let me explain. When there is an accident involving a drunk driver, clearly the first person to blame is the one behind the wheel. But that responsibility is sometimes shared by the people who handed over the drinks.
It doesn't take much. It's a moment of distraction. It gets amplified when you're intoxicated.
The blame for an accident is shared when the driver came from a bar or restaurant and was served alcohol when it was clear they were drunk. But what if the driver in the accident came from a Super Bowl party at a friend's house or is drinking at a backyard barbecue? Is the host of the private party also liable if they knew the person had been drinking too much?
Social host is not going to be responsible for the accident.
In other words, California Civil Code puts the blame only on the driver and not the host of the party. It's simply part of the celebration. After New Year's and Thanksgiving, Super Bowl Sunday is one of the heaviest drinking days of the year. But that's not an excuse, and personal injury attorney Ross Jurewitz says the party host should still be looking out for his guests.
You should take some responsibility for it. I mean, it may not be legal responsibility, but you're looking out for your party guests.
The only exception to the California social host law is when it involves people who are under the age of 21. If the host of a private party serves alcohol to underage drinkers and there's an accident, the private host shares in the blame.
You're on the hook. You're on the hook for that person's actions, and you're also on the hook for punitive damages as well, too.
Of course, the best plan is to make sure your guests get home safely, that they have a designated driver, someone sober to get behind the wheel.
The cost of a cab, the cost of a town car, even through Uber, is nothing compared to the cost you'll have if you injure someone or kill someone.
Now, going back to letting minors drink, if you're the host, you can be fined, even put in jail. And that doesn't even begin to what happens, all the complications if there's an accident. It's just, I mean, we all agree, it's just not worth it.
Absolutely.
And so what about the cases where maybe it's a college party where the people consuming and serving the alcohol are both underage?
They're all underage. You know, that's interesting because I asked about that. They said in that case, both sides share the blame. You'll be considered an adult in this case, giving alcohol to underage drinkers. And while we talk about what California law says about who's responsible, obviously, if you're hosting a party, you have people over, do whatever you can to make sure they don't get behind the wheel if you think they've been drinking too much.
Well, the guy in your story makes a great point that the cost of a town car is going to be less.
Just not worth it.
Yeah, for sure.
True.
All right.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Bob.
Bob.
You bet.